Everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Meet the Docs in this different format that we've been doing for this half of the year. We will have some doctors coming in and out, and some doctors not able to make it today due to a variety of reasons. Oh, there's Dr. Quinn. And so we're going to introduce ourselves, and we're going to introduce all these lovely ladies that we have here with us, helping us today, and then take any and all questions. Feel free to add your questions to the chat box, starting now, and we will kind of go through those after we're done with our initial presentation, and then make sure that you've got all your questions answered. I'll start with myself. I'm Dr. Chris Hart. I've been with Hill Country since 2007. Practice obstetrics and gynecology, and I live here in Austin with my two sons and my partner, and I went to medical school in Galveston at UTMB in Galveston, and then did my residency training in Portland, Oregon, and then came back to Austin, where I am from originally, and started with Hill Country back at that time. Been here ever since. I'll turn over to Dr. Landa Meyer.
Hi, I'm Dr. Landa Meyer. I am one of the founding partners of Hill Country OB/GYN. Dr. Eduardo and I and two other doctors started the practice in 1999, and it has really flourished. We're pretty proud of ourselves. Just on me personally, I have been practicing here in Austin since 1997. I did my undergraduate at Texas Tech, medical school at UT in Houston, and my residency was at UTMB in Galveston. I am married, and I have three sons who are 24, 22, and 18. And then I'll toss it over to Dr. Quinn.
Hi, I'm Dr. Melissa Quinn. I've been with Hill Country now for going on 4 years, I believe. I'm originally from Austin, born and raised here, and went to UT for undergrad and then San Antonio for medical school. I moved up to Kansas City, Missouri for residency, where I met my husband. And then we decided to move back down here when we wanted to start our family, and that's when I joined Hill Country. I have two kiddos, a 2.5-year-old and a 9-month-old, both of which I delivered at St. David's, South Austin. So very familiar with the hospital and all the resources there. And that's it for me.
Wonderful. I'd also like to introduce Laura Evans. Okay. No, we'll take a second. We'll come back to you, Laura, and we'll get the volume working on your screen. I'll cut to Donna for a minute.
Hi, I'm Donna Cordoba. I'm one of the lactation consultants at St. David's. I'm one of the people that you may see if you're breastfeeding and need help. I'm going to post information in the chat box about things we recommend. Happy to answer any questions you have, and really excited to have you come and stay with us. We have a great program there with lactation, and it's just a great place to have a baby.
Wonderful. What do you think, Laura? Do you think it's going to work for you now? Maybe the volume? I'm no expert, so I'm not going to be any help at this. I feel like this has been all week with the kids on Zoom calls. I'm like, good luck, kids. I couldn't tell you. Why don't I go ahead and introduce Paris and Sarah, who are going to talk with us about Texas Family Connects. And you are, Paris, right now you're muted. So if you want to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Hi. Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've seen everybody. My name is Sarah. That's Elias. You may recognize him from my pregnancy. Awesome. Okay, so that's who's leading. But I am with Family Connects. We provide support for families during those early weeks of postpartum. So when you're in the hospital, you'll be in touch with me or Paris, and I'll let her introduce herself and then take over.
Hey there, I'm Paris. Like Sada mentioned, I'm also a program support specialist with Family Connect. So you'd be the one that I will be talking to in the hospital rooms. Just to make sure, can you guys hear me? I'm having some connectivity issues. Just want to make sure that you guys can hear and see me.
Yes.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I have a little presentation we wanted to show with you guys, going for you guys. Alrighty, so this is the lovely Sada, as you can see, and her baby, and he was a little one. So a little newborn baby.
Okay, well,
It may or may not be my favorite part of the slide, but I mean, it's okay. So part of, we can see here one of our little testimonials from one of our moms, and it's just, you know, important to us that we make sure you guys know that our moms are taken care of and they have all this possible support, and you can see that we want to just reassure moms that they are doing good and they're on the right track. So as far as what kind of support that we offer, like I mentioned, we are all about supporting moms. So the way that might look, we want to be part of your postpartum care team as far as support goes. So that might be anything from breastfeeding support to emotional support, social support, and making sure you have access to all the different avenues. And then we know right now with COVID, the way people are operating is kind of and weekly, so we're staying abreast of how everyone is operating, so that way we can connect you with any different moms programs or mom support groups, and you can know how they are operating. So the way that works is we will schedule you while you're in the hospital, while you're still in postpartum. The first part will be that phone consult at 1 week postpartum, or 1 week from baby's date of birth. And that's that wellness support call. That's that phone call where they're checking in on you, baby, seeing how things are going and making sure that you got everything you guys need set. Do a telehealth visit, so that video chat with her, and that's more at the 3-week mark. And then after that, we'll follow up with you as needed. Some moms need more follow-ups than others, some moms less. And then let's see, who is eligible? So you already took off the second one with delivering at St. David's. So we already know where you're going to deliver. So you got that going for you already. And then also as far as eligibility, we do have, it needs to be Austin, Travis County residents, but we also Bastrop County as well. And then if you have any questions as far as like eligibility, you can just feel free to throw that out at us. We want to make sure that even if you're not in our eligibility zone, that you still have access to any kind of support that you might need. And only worth noting that St. David's is the only hospital that offers free postpartum visits. And then finally, how do you sign up for Family Connects? So there's the different ways. You can talk to nurses at the hospital when you deliver, and they'll give your information to me, and I'll contact you while you're still in the room and get. Or you can request a visit online from us, which is, I feel like, the best way to get it done, because that way you don't have to worry about talking to me while you're in the hospital rooms. You just have the appointment set up for you already now, and you don't even have to worry back in with it. I believe Sasha is going to put in the chat box.
right. What I can do for everybody is, if you are interested in having one of our nurses contact you, I can include that link, and that way you're already, we know that you're about to have a baby, and we'll make sure that, you know, that we can get in touch with you. I'm going to include the link shortly so that if you're interested.
That link is that way you're already in the queue, ready to go directly, me or Sada.
So there's a question about, for those in Hayes County, is there anything analogous to this for Hayes County residents, or a program that they could reach out to if they're in Hayes County?
Yeah, what we can do is we can try to find something similar in the area. I'm going to include also a sheet of resources. I know that a lot of resources or supports for families have modified because of COVID. So I will post that on there. It has a lot of really good information. A couple of organizations that provide support that we also link with have. It's been interesting in that COVID, while it's forced a lot of people to be working from home, it's also increased the accessibility because everything is available online. So I will post that shortly as well. So I'll have the link up there, as well as that file with the list of resources. But we're totally accessible. You will have I think the PowerPoint has our contact info. If anything does come up during those early weeks of postpartum or that 4th trimester, definitely reach out to us. We're a group of like nurses and women that are mothers and really committed and dedicated to supporting moms, especially under these circumstances. I don't think 6 months ago, and probably we weren't anticipating delivering in the middle of a pandemic. And so we want to make sure that any of the barriers to accessing support, we're really adamant about making sure that whatever you need, we're there too. Regardless of the kind of jurisdiction or eligibility, we really want to make sure that you're connected. But I will post that shortly. If that doesn't really meet your needs, feel free to reach out to me. We love Hill Country. We love our nurses at St. David's, and everyone's just delivering babies. So we just want to make sure that it's as accessible to everybody. And that's a big part of what we do. That's why it's offered to everybody. It's very little eligibility, but yeah, I will post that shortly. Does that answer your question? I hope.
Yes, thank you. That is helpful. And just to remind everyone, it is a free service to those who are in Travis and in Travis County and Bastrop County. And then I would like just to take, what about Laura? Laura, any volume?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yay.
I did some troubleshooting. I'm so proud of myself within the Zoom. So anyway, I apologize. I'm Laura. I'm the Director for Women's Services here at South Boston Medical Center. And, it's my job to make sure that you all have a wonderful experience here, even during a pandemic. And I'm confident that you will. We have an amazing staff of people that are going to take care of you from the front door till when you get discharged, including your labor and delivery experience. A lot of really experienced folks over there that can get you through your birth in the way that is safe and the way that you want it. And then we have some amazing lactation consultants. One is here with us, Donna, today, that can answer your questions about lactation. And you're just gonna get loved on while you're here. It's not a great time to be in the hospital, but I promise you, you're gonna really enjoy yourself. So we look forward to taking care of you. And I will visit you each day, I or one of my managers on the team, to make sure this is happening. So we're glad to see you tonight.
Thank you. Susan, do you want to talk about the childbirth education classes? You got to unmute, I think.
Okay, sorry. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So glad to be here, and I would just like to repeat from others that you are in fabulous hands with Hill Country OB-GYN. I've worked with the majority of that group of doctors for at least 18 to 20 years, and it's hard to believe it's been 20 years, but it has. Our team offers 3 different courses every month. We do a 6-hour childbirth preparation class that covers the whole process of labor and what to expect, what's really going on with you and the baby. And a key piece is what your partner, spouse, or support person, what is their role, so that y'all do this as a team along with your bigger team with the nurses and lactation and your physician, of course. We also go through all the different options for non-medical management, relaxation, meditation, everything you can do to enhance your experience and have the best experience that is your goal. And then we also review all the medical interventions, risk and benefits, all the details. And then we see several births, a vaginally delivery birth, and we also go through a C-section, what that might be like, and just various things that could come up along your journey. And so to help you navigate the system and be ready for something that we don't want you to feel blindsided by anything, and be fully prepared. And so this gives you a chance to process a lot of information ahead of time before you're already in the hospital in labor and maybe feeling a little good stress, but stress. And especially during the COVID times when you may not have that full team of people with you, like your mom and your auntie or whoever, we're going to have you fully prepared for what it's going to be like for just you and your partner there and what to expect. And that class is 6 hours. We do it on a Saturday. And then we have 2 other courses, a breastfeeding success course, and it's only 2.5 hours. It's usually a Tuesday or Wednesday evening. And then we do an infant care class, same amount of time, 2.5 hours on a Tuesday or Wednesday evening. We go over all newborn care, really what to help you be prepared, bringing home that little newborn. Once again, may not have mom there. You'll be lucky if you can. Hopefully you can, but you may not. And so we really want to prepare you for all those regular infant newborn care, but also what is this? What if this comes up? When do I need to call my pediatrician, along with all that basic care? And it's a very informal class. And I will say I'm just shocked, but we've been doing this by Zoom since March, and it has been, all the feedback I get has been very successful, and I would have never guessed it. So I'm thrilled we can provide it. I do drop off books at everybody's home, just on their little front door or their porch. So they have those with each of their courses. And then we do a lot of Q&A, and any follow-up that you need, I'm available and open. So I will write in on the chat our website and how to get to it. You can also get to it through Hill Country. One of their tabs at the top of their home page is patient information or patient something information. And then when you go down there, there's a link to our website directly. Happy to answer any questions.
You has gone ahead and put those links in the chat for anybody who wants to follow those. So that is excellent. There is a question about the visitor restrictions and about, who's allowed in the delivery room and kind of what that's looking like for the rest of the year. Laura, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. So currently we're still on the same restrictions that we've been, and we allow just one person to be with a labor support person to be with mom during the stay. The other one exception, if you have a doula that is a certified doula, we consider that part of our birth team, so doula can come as well. The significant other is, just like always, can be in the delivery room and can stay the night with mom throughout the stay. We do screen everybody that comes in the hospitals. So if somebody were to be symptomatic of any kind of possible virus, that person would need to switch out with a healthy support person. And basically, we make sure everybody has a mask, and we ask you to wear the mask, especially when your caregivers are in the room, and we are all going to be wearing masks as well. And this is just to protect each other. We've been very successful with this, and we've kept all of our staff healthy. And so we feel really good about what we have in place as far as protective gear and our visitor policy. It's not ideal, because I know people want to bring in their other kiddos or, other family members, but though some of the positives are that people are getting a lot more rest while they're here, and that's really, really good. So that, you rest up for when you are able to see family members, and really getting some really good quality bonding time just with the close family, with the new baby, and just that special time before all the other kids or anybody else comes to visit. So our moms do seem a little bit more sane just for the rest. So we'll prioritize your rest. We'll take great care of you, and we'll take care of your significant other as well. So.
Wonderful, thank you. There's a question about mandatory testing unless you fail the pre-screening. I just want to kind of go through that, we are testing all our patients for COVID-19 at this point, and I don't anticipate that will change. Is that what you would say, Laura?
Yeah, I
So,
would agree with that.
yeah, patients will all be tested. If you're scheduled to come in labor, then you'll be tested usually the day before. If you are, or if you're a spontaneous labor, and you'll be tested when you get there. But there's no testing for partners at the hospital. So if your partner is ill, they shouldn't come to the hospital. Let's see, mom needs COVID test, but dad does not. And yes, the dad will still wear a mask anytime anybody else besides the mom is in the room. So if you have members of your care team, your doctor and nurses there, the dad will wear a mask. But if it's just you two in the room together, you don't have to wear one. I hope that answers the question. I wanted to take a minute to just introduce the other doctors that aren't here tonight. And we have 3 other providers that, doctors that are part of our obstetric team, Dr. Alicia Schneider and Dr. Leah Mello, who have other Zoom obligations this evening because of school, and then Dr. Amanda DeCero, who is on maternity leave and will be back next month. Questions about the labor, the admitting process. Dr. Landa Meyer, you want to talk about pain management options for labor?
Yeah, I would love to. So very common in labor, I would say we probably have a 60 to 75% rate of patients that opt to get an epidural for pain management when they're in labor. And that is something that the anesthesiologist would come into the room and administer. From when you say, I want my epidural, to when you have pain relief is about 45 minutes. So if you know you want an epidural and you just already have decided that's the way you want to go, let your labor nurse know, and she can kind of help coach you through when is the right time to get the epidural, so it's not too early and not like too late where you're like really, really miserable. But we are fully supportive and are capable of handling your labor should you choose not to get an epidural. In that case, we have the option that we could do IV pain medication. And this would be a narcotic that goes in through your IV and gives you some pain relief. The problem with this is that we can't give it to you if we think you're going to have the baby in about an hour to 2 hours, because it does cross placenta and it can make the baby a little bit sleepy and a little bit respiratory distressed at birth. So we want the baby to come out screaming and crying. So that is kind of the limitation of the IV pain medication. Prior to COVID, we had some nitrous oxide, and that was really getting going and really starting to work really well. But that is an aerosolizing thing where you're breathing in the nitrous oxide and breathing it out. And even though your COVID test is negative, we just don't feel comfortable bringing the nitrous oxide back in at this time. So we're kind of waiting a little bit more for things to clear up with COVID before we bring nitrous oxide back. There are lots of meditation methods and hypnobirthing and things that I know Susan and her crew can help you with should you decide to try to have your birth unmedicated, and we're completely supportive of that.
Dr. Quinn, if you want to speak to the process for deciding you're going into the hospital and what you'll do when you get there. And just as my additional question is, having had the baby most recently at the hospital, what are the things that you think people need to remember to bring, or that you might not think of when you're packing your hospital bag?
Sure. Yeah. So I generally recommend, if you haven't started, get your hospital bag packed and ready to go so that when your water breaks or you're in labor, you're not frantically running around the house trying to get it all ready. So just kind of have that prepared, usually around 36 or 37 weeks, because baby really can come at any point at that time. Generally, what I would recommend from a packing standpoint, first of all, your appointment, we usually give you you can ask, we have a folder that has a hospital information, and in that folder, there is a kind of what to pack list. So you can always refer to that. And it's going to be basically like you're going for a weekend getaway, you're just going to come home with a baby. So you get, your clothes, your pajamas, your toiletries, basic stuff like that. I would recommend maybe like a pair of house slippers and a comfortable gown or something if you're planning to nurse, so that you can kind of easily do that. And then your own pillow and blanket that's brightly colored, just because, the hospital pillow is kind of that crunchy kind. So get your nice soft pillow to be comfortable with. The rest of the stuff, from a baby standpoint, from a postpartum, like your pads and your big mesh underwear, the hospital gives you all of that sort of stuff. So even if you were out shopping, not that people are really shopping, but if you're out doing something else and your water breaks and you were to show up at the hospital, they have you covered. But, it's nice to have our own comfort items. And then, of course, when you go home, you'll need the car seat. So you'll want to have that. You don't have to bring that when you're in labor, but when you leave, you'll need that. Your breast pump, a lot of people will get a breast pump through their insurance. Again, you don't have to bring that into the facility, but if you have on the day that you're leaving any questions about how it works, Donna and her crew can kind of help show you that. And then maybe a breastfeeding pillow, just to kind of get that extra support while you're trying to nurse at the hospital. How the process works. So when you are in labor, or you think you might be going into labor, it really kind of depends on the time of day. So if it is daytime hours, you can call our office, and we have a little link that says, like, if you think you're in labor, push this number, and it'll connect you to one of our staff who's going to talk you through what's going on. And sometimes early labor can take hours. And so they might have you actually come to our clinic first to kind of see if you're dilating, kind of what's going on, so you don't have to head all the way to the hospital. Sometimes though, they'll talk you through and they're like, oh, it sounds like you need to head straight to the hospital, and they'll advise you. So they're really good about kind of counseling you about that. If it's after hours, you can call that same number and it will contact the physician on call. So I'm on call tonight, so I'm getting pages from patients, and so then we just call you back. And again, we'll kind of do the same process where we kind of talk you through what's going on, what symptoms are you having. Some important things to know: if you're high risk, definitely let the doctor know if you have some sort of a complication, because we don't always have access to your chart when we're calling you back. So let us know if you're high risk, you have a complication, you're supposed to have a C-section, you've been breached, anything like that, because that could really change how we would counsel you about going to the hospital. Also, if you know your Group B strep status, what your pain control plans were, if you're wanting to get an epidural, or if you're wanting to labor at home naturally, that will also change my advice about how quickly to present to the hospital. And then how far away you live. We have some people that live 5 minutes, and we have some people all the way out in Wimberley and Marble Falls that live a while. So it also will change kind of how quickly we advise people to come to the hospital. Once we say, yes, go ahead and head on into the hospital, you will present to the south entrance at the hospital. That's basically the side that's away from the highway towards the emergency room. And you'll be screened at the hospital entrance. They do the temperature check, ask you the questions, and then take you up to second floor labor and delivery, where they'll get you either admitted or kind of do a labor evaluation to determine if you need to be admitted. If it's obvious, like water's gushing out of you because we know your water's broken, they'll take you to a labor room. If it's like one of these iffies, we're not sure if you're in labor, you may go to the OB emergency room area first, and they're going to do a little evaluation of you to determine if you need to be admitted at that time.
Very good. Yeah, and I think that's the key thing is just making sure you come in that south entrance. I wanted to go back to the thing someone asked about the doula, and I just wanted to emphasize that, of course, it's certified doulas, people who are trained as doulas. Your aunt can't be your doula unless that's also their job as doula. Let's see, and I talked about the peanut balls. Those things are awesome, and you don't have to bring your own. You can use the one the hospital has, but you're welcome to, although that takes up a lot of room in the car if you are bringing that stuff.
Just to kind of follow up on some of those statements I was making, if it's ever an emergency and, you know, you wake up and blood is coming out, just go to the hospital. Like, you don't have to wait to hear back from us. We will find out that you're there. So definitely, if it's an emergency, head straight to the hospital. But if it's not an emergency, you've talked to us, we will let the hospital know, so you don't have to worry about calling them or anything like that. But it is a good idea just to kind of give us a page if you think you're heading in, because we're not always at the hospital if nobody's in labor. So we like to kind of get dressed and know we need to head into the hospital if somebody's going to be going into labor.
Yeah, we love to know ahead of time if people are coming in, because it really does let us get prepared and let the hospital get prepared. One of the great things about South Austin is they, got a 24-hour-a-day OB hospitalist, so there's always a doctor on deck available for emergencies. But we want to be the ones taking care of you, and you may see the hospitalist just if you come in and then end up getting discharged because you're not really in labor, or that you thought your water's broken, but it's actually not. And so you may not see us in those scenarios, but we want to be the ones taking care of you if you are coming in labor. There's a question about a birth plan template. There's just 5 million birth plan templates that are available online. We don't have a specific one for Hill Country. Does anybody refer to one specifically? I usually encourage people, if you have, St. David's is a very baby-friendly hospital. Many things that I see on birth plans, delayed cord clamping, direct skin to skin, preference for lactation, all that stuff is automatic at the hospital. We're not going to be doing anything different. But if you have, certainly if you have specific questions, you could ask them here about specific practices that you're wondering about. We can definitely address them today. But I usually say, if you have more preferences than you can say in 3 sentences, you probably should write it down. And you don't have to use any particular template. Just say, this is what I want. And definitely take that to your OB during your prenatal care, because we'll take a look at it. If it doesn't look crazy, we're like, hey, we can do all of these things. If it includes a lot of things that are prohibited at the hospital, obviously we want to address that before you get there so that there's no rude shocks or surprises. But almost everything that you want to do, we can accommodate, assuming it's safe for you and the baby. We want you to have the birth that you want. But your nurse, when you come in labor, is going to assess what your preferences are, how you want to labor. They're really good at getting that information from you and trying to make that a reality for you. And so your nurse is definitely your partner for your labor and trying to have the labor that you want. So you can bring a birth plan and we will all look at it and we will try to adhere to it as much as we can, but it is not required. You don't have to have one. You'll still, your preferences will be assessed, and we'll make sure and talk about all the stages of labor with you as they're happening. And then if you feel like you're in labor, yes, call us for sure. We want to hear from you. If you're not sure, call us, because we have talked to thousands of women on the phone in labor, and we can usually help you decide if it's time to come in. So please do. I think a lot of people are asking these days, how long are you going to stay in the hospital? With the visitor restrictions, we are trying to, let people go back to their homes as expeditiously as possible, but it's still for most people going to be a 36-hour hospital stay. There may be a little bit of flexibility there, but most people will plan to stay at least a day and a half after their delivery, because the baby does need some measurements and labs before they're discharged home. So, usually about 2 days for a vaginal delivery, 1.5 to 2 days for a vaginal delivery, and 2 or 3 days for a C-section is kind of the minimum. if anybody had questions about that. Donna, I wondered if you could speak to any differences that you've seen with the decreased visitors on how that is affecting lactation, because I've definitely heard some rumors that that's making for good breastfeeding.
Yes, it certainly is. I think our patients are much more rested. I think, particularly if this is your first baby, you're kind of in for a shock at how exhausted you're going to be. You have a lot of adrenaline initially when that baby's born, but the second night, babies, I call frat night or hell night, the babies stay up all night and feed constantly. And before, when we had visitors all the time, I found parents weren't getting enough rest, and it made that second night really, really challenging. And to my surprise, most of my patients will say to me that they really enjoy the peace and quiet, and they see the value in that. Breastfeeding is a very emotionally complicated relationship from the get-go. It's definitely a natural relationship, but it's also a learned behavior. So there's just a lot of things that go on in learning how to take care of yourself and take care of your baby, and having just minimal visitors and just getting to know each other and as a family and getting to take care of yourself really is good, not have a bunch of visitors interrupting all of that. So I think it's been very, very positive. I haven't had anybody complain, I can honestly say, wishing that they had their mom there, or I haven't heard one person say that. So, and a shout out to Susan. I'm getting very good positive feedback about the childbirth classes. Patients are verbalizing how great it was. So I just want to toot your horn for that.
Thanks.
So, sure. I also want to mention we have a online support group. It's called South Austin Breastfeeding Support Group. I'll put it in the chat box. It's a local group just for Austin area moms. It is a little different, I'm told, but from some of the other mom groups, it's a group to where you come and feel supported no matter how you're feeding your baby. When you go home, and even before breastfeeding was isolating, and now with COVID, it's really isolated, and that group has become even more popular as a way to stay in touch with people and women that are going through some of the same things that you're going through. So if you'd like to join it, it's a closed group because I want to make sure that it's Austin area moms. I don't allow businesses to advertise and whatnot. There's questions on there. What you need to do is all you have to say is you go to Hill Country. In any one of the questions, and I'll add you immediately. It's a great, great resource, and very, very popular and very, very busy. And so if you post something in the middle of the night, I can guarantee you somebody's going to be up and cheer you on and answer your questions. So I'll put that in the chat box. And if you have any other questions about how we do our lactation, please post it in the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question about dads staying overnight, and definitely dads are allowed to stay overnight. This is a question that has come up, and Maggie, maybe you can say how you're addressing this about dads coming and going as needed from the hospital.
Dads do have to go home and feed the dog and check on the other kids and get food. We just ask you to sort of have the same kind of care that you would normally have, especially knowing that the pandemic is real and that it's still out there. Yes, he can go out and head home and do all the things that need to be done at home and grab, takeout or, delivery or whatever, just using very careful precautions and come right back to the hospital, not going to the bar and toasting the baby with all of his frat brothers or, coworkers or whatever, just, the necessary trips to and from home and the hospital.
Yeah. I think that's a question that comes up a lot in the office, about dads coming and going and yeah, exactly. You just go home and come back. Don't go to the bar. Yeah. There was
also a question on there about circumcision. And so they typically, you need to talk to your pediatrician and find out how they prefer you to handle the circumcision, because some pediatricians actually prefer it to happen in the office after the baby's already discharged from the hospital. But should your pediatrician say, no, do it at the hospital, I don't do that, They typically do it on the day that the baby goes home from the hospital. So it's typically day 2 of life. I can tell you that, you know, in 2020, everyone uses local anesthesia for circumcisions for babies. So it minimizes the baby's pain. And the hospital will show you everything you need to do to take care of the circumcision area should you choose to have your son circumcised.
Well, I would encourage everyone who has not already to call the hospital to schedule your virtual tour. You know, it used to be that after our Q&A here on our Meet the Docs, there would be sort of a big group tour, and we don't get to do anything in big groups these days, but you can call Labor and Delivery. Their phone number is in the packet in the office to schedule a one-on-one virtual tour. The nurse will give you a tour. She has a computer on wheels and kind of takes you to all the, oh, thank you, to all the areas of the labor and delivery suite so that you're familiar with everything. And you can ask any questions that you want because you kind of got her all to yourself, which is really nice. And so, you know, after you've kind of talked with your doctor about all the questions that we've addressed today, you can have your virtual tour, which kind of completes, you know, the learning process. After you've taken Susan's class and you've gotten all your questions answered, you know, we're always available to answer any questions. Of course, if you have a question that comes up that's a non-urgent question, you can always email your doctor through the patient portal, and we take questions that way. We usually get back to those within a day. If it's something urgent, obviously we want you to call the office so that we can get you addressed more urgently. And at night, if you're just not sure what to do, don't sit at home and wonder. You know, wonder if you should be calling, wonder if you should be going to the hospital. Let us help you, because that's why we are available 24 hours a day. Again, the non-urgent stuff you could wait till the daytime, but if it's urgent, please do call, because that's what we're there for. Anybody have any additional remarks that they want to add? I think the thing that has impressed me the most about delivering babies in the pandemic is it's just like delivering babies any other time. We just can't quite breathe as well, but it's still wonderful, and it's still miraculous, and we're still enjoying ourselves, and babies come out beautiful and healthy. And they don't know anything about COVID, so it's just fine. But, you know, we're
kind of going along with what someone else mentioned earlier, but my second baby was actually born on Thanksgiving Day, so it was kind of like pandemic. Nobody was around. It was the middle of the night. Nobody visited because everybody was celebrating Thanksgiving and stuff. So it was actually really nice. My husband and I just had that quiet time and got to bond, and our daughter wasn't there either, so we really got to bond with the baby. So try to look at it from a positive, because I know a lot of people are really stressed that they feel like it's not quite the birth that they were planning, but it actually could be a really sweet experience if you look at it from a positive light.
And I'll just say I do round on patients every day, and the overwhelming majority of people are very positive and have felt very safe and well cared for, and also just very calm without so many people in the hospital. So I'm confident you're going to have a great experience here.
Me too. Well, please follow up with us if you need anything. All these lovely ladies are available for you if you need anything during your pregnancy or hospital stay. And we look forward to seeing you for your birth.